Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. So I don't usually do this, but for those just tuning in, I want to kind of just show you really quickly the succession of the J world ever since 2016. So 2016, I discovered the first recipe, and there was a lot of conflict with that, but that was smoothed over and things were okay, I guess. 2017, things were heating up. I started the website. Well, not so much the website. That was 2018. I started the Facebook group, and the Facebook group had all this information in it. And this is the first book that actually came out in 2018, but 2017 was the development of this. And all the controversy, the beginning stuff, I mean, that was just wow. And then it was the May of 2018 when I went on Dr. Phil, and I think June or July or August. I think this came out in August. And then a year, like in 2019, actually 2020, this came out in 2020. This is the evolution. I realized after COVID came around and we're going through all the different riots and we were discovering that food was necessary in the new COVID environment, that we couldn't mitigate food. We had to now insulate our bodies against all these aggressive, well, we didn't know about frequencies, but we knew about viruses at the time, which were basically people. Okay, everybody, not just one person or a few people. Everyone has all different types of viruses, because virus is relative to who it's influencing and who is who is under siege from somebody else's information. Okay, and evolution is like a vital information resource under siege. All right, so that's then when this came out. But these are both now discontinued. So if you have them, great. If you don't, no worries. It might be resold on Amazon, but you could find maybe these on Amazon if they're used, if someone wants to go and resell it for whatever reason. And then this is the newest book on the market. This is under jillyjuice.com. This is a hardback, there's a paperback, and there's an ebook. You can get it on Amazon or the website that I have from my publisher. And this is the current book called Another Arm of the Hydra. And this is what people are having an issue with. Oh, the poop and all that stuff. But I do mention the Rosicrucians. I do mention, yeah, a bunch of stuff. So it's a short read. People can call it a pamphlet, whatever you want to do. I don't care. But this is so I've written about 3 books since 2018. All right, 3 books in 2018. You'll see the succession of those who've been around for a while know the succession of it. So you know how much work I've put into this. This is not just some fly-by-night information that I'm just spouting off because I have nothing better to do. Oh, there's a whole lot to it. And I've done extensive research in everything that I'm doing. That's my coffee. Okay? Yeah, all right. So yesterday was definitely energetic. The smog, the fires, the particle acceleration. Yeah, absolutely. I felt not only the frequencies, but the heart palpitations. I wouldn't say I had any other pains, a little bit of arm pain, but that really was very minimal the other day. I wouldn't even categorize it as anything exponential or really worth having an issue with. I've now been through a few energy conversions and I've had no serious pain, only fatigue, which is no big deal, and hunger, but not even the ravenous hunger like it was a few months ago. It's like I'm keeping up with the energy in the environment. When I do feel hungry, I'll just eat some food, an ice cream sandwich, or meat, or a salad if I crave it. But I just listen to my body. My body knows all the foods that are available to me, and then it will say, okay, I want this kind of food. I want this kind of food. Sometimes I'll eat cereal with milk. And I don't even turn to Activia anymore. I don't need the probiotics anymore. I can make my own in my gut. Not so much in a jar, but in my gut. My body has the ability to convert everything it needs to. All right? And so, yeah, yesterday, there's a lot of sirens yesterday. A lot of sirens, and I think I sneezed a few times, blew my nose. I didn't even sleep yesterday. Like, my husband came home a little bit early, and I could have taken a nap, because I have done that, where he would come home and I'm like, dude, I gotta sleep. I can't, I'm just tired. No, yesterday it was just like, I was so energetic. Not only was I cleaning stuff, but I just kept doing stuff. It was like the music came on, not literally, but the music came on, and I couldn't stop dancing. That's what it was like yesterday. The energy was that aggressive. And of course I heard sirens. And so, yeah, let me get to this. When I was listening to my YouTube this morning, and I was listening to, microdosing LSD. And I don't know why I was listening to that on YouTube, but when I wake up and then I have to go back to sleep, I'll listen to weird videos, or listen to whatever videos that come through. And it's just weird stuff. It could be like microdosing LSD, or the why California is collapsing, what's going on with San Francisco. San Francisco used to be a beautiful town, and now San Francisco is almost not even, it's a shell of itself. Crime, homelessness. It's the takedown of what used to be on top, what used to be the center of the universe is not anymore. And so I listened to the commentary about the fall of the economy in California, in San Francisco, and I listened to people talk about like what's going on with the economy overall, what's going on with the fires, with the grid, with so many things. So, I definitely can smell the electricity in the air. And I smelled it even more so before all the fires last year. I would go outside and it would smell like burning electricity. And of course, people can explain it away and say, oh, maybe it's the factories that are burning something. Maybe it's this that's burning something. No, the electricity grid is burning along with the wildfires mixed in with the smoke. And then you have the particle acceleration. And that's where the heart beats. Because I've been around wildfires and been around smoky areas. I lived in California for many years. They had wildfires all the time. But I don't remember ever feeling any kind of heart situations because it wasn't that aggressive. Believe me, if I was the weight that I was 20 years ago, or even 20 years ago, because I'm around 30, if it's about 20 years ago. If I was around the weight I was back then, 20 years ago, today, I probably would have had heart condition back then. I probably would have went to the hospital for a heart condition if they would have raised the frequencies that much along with all the wildfires. Because I weighed way less. And yeah. So it's interesting how all of the confluence of the particle acceleration, the amplified atmosphere, all the particle spreaders, you can call them chemtrails, whatever. You have the grid heating up, 5G is going to turn into 6G by 2024. We have the wildfires, and then we have this, CERN is the same thing as particle acceleration. And then we have the HARP that is doing all the ionization research and weather manipulation, and that's why storms are really aggressive, or they just disappear. Okay, so I listened to I listened to all this type of videos that talk about all that stuff. Okay, and so it's like, okay, so anyways, now I was getting off topic, but so then I'm listening to something about microdosing LSD. Now I listen to because it's just another video that comes along. Okay, and wow. Why people microdose LSD? What was I thinking about microdosing LSD? Because when people microdose LSD, it's no different than taking a prescription drug, no different than doing cannabis, no different than doing any kind of tincture or supplement. Because once you get into something where it is making your mood and everything else just like this, once you get off it, or your body develops a resistance against it, what do you think the fallout's going to be? That's the thing about microdosing anything in the psychedelics. Then you think about 1960 Summer of Love. when all the LSD, the cannabis, the music, the love, the porn industry, all the sexual orientations, okay? And then you think about America. and then I just done a video that came on a Facebook reel about what the symbol of the Statue of Liberty is. It's Lucifer. The crown, the 7.7 deadly sins, and the radicalization of the 7 deadly sins, that is a choice on how to pass away in our society. And with the 7 deadly sins comes obviously families, right? Because for you to be fertile, you're going to have to commit so many different sins and also get absolution from your priest, your rabbi, and your spiritual healer. And so then the pregnancy, and people have so many different deficits, then the pregnancy actually robs. Now in this environment, the pregnancies are robbing mothers of their resources. We already knew this. Some professor said a while back that children inside the womb are like parasites. They just take the resources out of the mom. Well, obviously, that's where your kid, that's how a child gets developed. Everything is pretty much replicated like a clone. Resources have to be taken from different parts of the body. And when someone's already mineral deficient and they have a bunch of babies, that's why there are so many different diseases in motherhood, because that means the body's trying to evolve and resources are also actively being taken from it. That's why the left doesn't want people going through pregnancy, why abortion, right, is the reason why it's being advocated in the left-wing world, because they know pregnancy actually takes resources, takes intelligence away from the host, which is the mother. And then you have the right wing, who are like, oh, you got to have a bunch of babies. You have, like the Mormons, the Catholics, a lot of the different right-wing Christians, they're all about, oh, hey, it's all about having children and you'll see the succession of those who've been around. Oh gosh, here we go. Banned from all live streams. Okay. And so now you see, okay, yes, I had a what do you call it? a troll come on there. But now you see, so then the child is taking so many resources from the mother. So now you see in this environment, when someone is deficient, okay, you're going to see the baby take so many resources from and then you're going to see people go through all their different diseases. And so how many, and I lost my train of thought because I just dealt with a troll. But that's the thing with pregnancy, with robs mothers of her resources, because that, and so to make it to the next thing of the 7 deadly sins. Nice. Okay. So there is, oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. So then you see the 7 deadly sins. There are, for you to get to be motherhood, you have to cross the deadly sins, and then the child robs resources. And then you see the deficiencies in the mothers and also the children's as they reproduce, keep reproducing. Okay. And you're going to see a lot of people who are religious are not, that's right, the right wing, the left wing. So the left wing, the reason why they want abortion because it robs resources. The right wing, like, hey, have a bunch of kids. Please have so many kids, much you can. And yeah, the kids are great on some level, but until they keep reproducing, and what happens, it keeps weakening the genetic line. Okay? So the left is like, hey, we're trying to save the women and save humanity from extinction, because every single time you reproduce, it's a weaker prototype, a weaker offspring, weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker. Okay. And what makes, well, see, people think weak is so different, and it's like, okay, and also issues, learning disabilities, other issues. So you can go from an intelligent prototype, and then they keep reproducing, and then the intelligence leaves, but the body's still there. And the body is strong, but the body is not able to learn because there's so many things going on. That's what the system is figuring out. That's why they're trying to guide reproduction carefully. And so that's why the left is like, okay, better to have an abortion than have something happen to the mother. And then the right's like, keep having babies, and then the genetic lines become weaker and out of control, or harder to control. And if someone wants to dispute this, that's on you. That's fine. We all know everyone has their thing about having children and having big families, and there's two sides to this. That's why we're in a great reset. Because when you have so many people like Universe 25, so many rats that are reproducing in a utopian society, then you see all that extinction. And we're seeing it in cities right now, that there's so much reproduction and there's no real control over it. How many resources are we going to throw at people who have deficiencies because of the vast amounts of reproduction? And you can blame it on anything you want. People are like, oh, blame the skies, blame the V's, blame this, blame that. But in actuality, every single time you have a disease, it's because of a deficiency. And every single time you deal with a disease, it's always with something to stop the life. And that causes anomalies, not only in the body, but then also in the offspring. With that many remedies, that many surgeries, that many things that people use against the life because they don't want to evolve, they don't want to release because it's painful, and they don't want to take on information. And there's a lot of deficiencies like hypertension and so many things. All right. And so pregnancy does rob mothers much of resources. That's why there's gestational diabetes. That's why there's gestational gingivitis. That's why not all mothers survive pregnancy. Even the Twilight, when they were showing you in an allegorical way, when a human is bearing a vampire baby, that vampire baby was showing you what kids actually do in the womb. They suck the resources out of the parent. If the parent's pretty robust, they can handle having that kind of parasite right in the body. But if the parent is really weak, already has deficiencies and malnourished, then having a baby is called a high-risk pregnancy. And there's a lot of women out there who undergo high-risk pregnancies because of already predisposed issues. They have so many different autoimmune disorders, other types of issues. And of course, the human, that genetic line wants to keep carrying it on, so it drops eggs and they become fertile. It's not a coincidence that those get diagnosed with a disease or diagnosed with some kind of illness or get into a car accident, all of a sudden becomes fertile, really fertile, and people get pregnant during around diagnosable conditions. Fertility is about a triggered senescence, a deterioration in the genetic line. Now people are going to argue with this because they're in their spirituality. They're in their spirituality world, and if you don't believe what I'm believing and you don't want to even take this on as far as new information, don't follow me, because I'm going to conflict with everything you've ever believed in and what was pounded in you, in your genetic line and in your family, in your culture for centuries. I'm going to probably challenge people's identities. That's what evolution does. It challenges identities. And it's not dangerous. It's not bad. It's just some people are open to evolution, others are not. If you feel that you're not open to evolution, please do not follow me, because you will feel everything about your way of life is threatened. It doesn't have to be. Go ahead and live your life. Go ahead and believe whatever you want to believe, but the environment is going to hold you accountable. Well, the environment will punish you, and the people will hold you accountable. Because if you can't evolve in this environment, hey, keep doing what you're doing, but you're going to find that people are not surviving the environment because they can't evolve. They have to always resist somebody else's information. All right, so yeah, and I'm going to challenge people. So I'm already doing that, and that's fine. All right, so microdosing anything, I don't care what it is, you just then develop an addiction. And that's what the 1960s really was about, was love and sex and sexual orientation. And every single time you drop semen and drop eggs and drop children, you're weakening that person and also the genetic lines. And when you can actually map out and project how many times people with different cultures, different lifestyles and belief systems and politics, religion, and science, when you can map out how many times they have kids and how many kids, and then you look at, then people want to say, oh, well, every single generation, it seems like cancer is more prevalent, exotic disease are more prevalent, all these things are more prevalent. All the V's, right, the VACCINESs are just mirroring the deficiencies, right? They're just mirroring the deficiencies. They're not making people deficient, because all they're doing is producing life. that you should be producing antibodies, but people don't have enough life in them to produce that many antibodies, especially if they get exposed to something really aggressive. And so that's why the therapies are there to kind of be that intermediary to give people a little bit of an exposure to produce. But if you're already too far gone, it's not gonna matter what you do. And so that's the reason why we have the therapies, because we have some people who are deficient and they're starving themselves, or they can't handle food, or they have hormonal imbalances. And so, yeah, they're nutritionally deficient. Their hormones are all out of whack, and they're in fear of everything, and they can't evolve. And so why the V schedule is so aggressive is because it shows how deficient every generation has been. But you know how people will explain away, and I've done it. I've tried to justify or explain why things happen, like you see like in the Diet Suddenly groups. And there was this one post about a 22-year-old who didn't get a V. He was in a college. There was no record of him getting a V at all, VACCINE. And he passed away, just died suddenly. 22, healthy. Okay, his mom was saying he was healthy, and her child was a little bit just wary of the V's, but she never saw any record of him getting it. And it, okay, wow. And so he died suddenly, and can't figure out what the deal is. Well, because he was deficient. He didn't have what it takes to deal with the environment. And so that's the thing about, wow, pregnancy robbing mothers of her resources, having so many kids, and then kids not prepared for the environment. And then all the different therapies are showing you how deficient people are, and how the therapies are trying to be the intermediary. But it doesn't matter what you do when you're that far gone. It's not going to matter what therapy or what you get or what you don't get. The V schedule is letting you know how deficient humans are. And so he didn't get a V, and he still passed away, and they can't figure out why. Well, because again, he was that deficient. He was not built for this environment. And so that's what right now I'm up against. That's what everyone out there is up against, is that we have so much conflicting information, so many belief systems that are so entrenched. That's why the system is going through a great reset. That's why the environment is changing so aggressively. Because again, you cannot tell someone who is so dead set in thinking one way or two ways, but can't even introduce a third way of thinking. You can't change them. They will fight to the DEATH for their belief system. You see it, the caustic and the venom and the acid in people's responses to different information. It's as if you drove a stake through their heart physically. Just like on Suits, when Lewis Litt, a very emotional lawyer who was struggling with the evolution of life, and when he realized that Harvard wasn't everything, and he was so worshiping Harvard, and realized that Harvard was not everything, and that people can be just as capable without a degree. A degree just says that you've done the studies and you understand the background. But if you understand the mechanisms, and you understand the jargon, and you understand protocol, and you understand how to conduct yourself in a courtroom, and you can learn that quickly, he realized that not everybody has to have a degree in order to exhibit characteristics of a good lawyer. And so he was felt like he was demolished. Everything he thought he knew about his life and the world was torn down by one person when he found out he did not have a law degree or even passed the bar. That's people out there. When they realized the world they thought they knew was not what is so, and even the world they thought they knew was not so, was just as relevant as their world, if not more so, if that person wanted to live. And so that's what we're up against. That's what I'm up against. That's why I got so much pushback from so many people. And the system kind of knew this, because the system was already preparing people to go through a major energy conversion, and they knew people were not going to survive. That's why all the lockdowns, that's why all the masks, that's why all the V's. Even I got on board of just fearing everything and resisting everything in the beginning. And then I started evolving and I released all those demons, took on new information. And it was pretty insane how much of 180 degrees I turned around on so many different politics, religion, and science dogmas. Literally all three of those areas and all the subsets of those areas. And so you're going to realize that Greek mythology, part of my book, talks about the Rosicrucians, the Christian Gnostics, the Jewish mystics, the Hermetics. That's all the ascension, energy healing people, as above, so below. Talking about starseed stuff and the spirituality. And then you have the Greek system and the Egyptian system. And we have people that are so against they would call the Luciferian, but it's again balancing out the light and the dark. And so let me read something real quick, because I'll get to Zeus overseeing the human Zeus, because that's very Rosicrucian. Give me a minute. Here we go. So that Facebook reel right underneath that, watch that. But I'm going to give a quick synopsis. Interesting. What he is saying is the Statue of Liberty is a symbol of Lucifer. 7 points on the crown, the 7 deadly sins, the light, the torch is the light bearer. Of course, this person's spin is speaking freedom from God, but you know how that could go. Freedom from a death culture, okay? Or freedom from the reward punishment programming, freedom from the man-made conditioning. The environment will punish you, not the people, okay? People will hold you accountable, but they will not punish you. And what is punishment in the justice system, the court system, holding accountability? It is on some level, but the environment will punish you, not the people. The people will hold you accountable. And so death is like a punishment. I mean, I guess the electric chair or the injection is pretty bad, but it's a punishment. But in reality, the people will hold you accountable. The environment will punish you. And if your kids don't know any better and you don't know any better, the people will hold you accountable and the environment will kick your ass. It's already happening. Okay? If your kids don't know any better and you don't know any better, mom and dad, the people will hold you accountable for the laws that are written, and the environment will be the one to punish you for not releasing the demons and not taking on the substance and not understanding about the laws of life and the laws of death. It's already happening. That's the died suddenlies. So America is giving people the choice. They're giving people 7 ways to pass away. The irony is you get absolution for every single one of them in all religions to make it okay. And so what are the 7 deadly sins? According to the Roman Catholic theology, the 7 deadly sins are the 7 behaviors or feelings that inspire further sins. They're typically ordered as pride. So you know anything that says about pride, anything with pride in it, you see where that's going. Greed, money, having so many children, big families. And you're seeing it all over. You're going to even see Africa go through that greed, because there's influencers teaching them how to work, how to sell. They're going to be becoming very capitalistic at some point. Africa's up and coming, and they're going to play the same games we played as far as capitalism and greed and crushing each other through the sales world. So pride, greed, lust, all the sexuality, I don't care what it is, all the sexuality. Envy, envying somebody else's car, envying their wife, envying everything. They want to be like the Joneses. They want to act like the Joneses. They want to be everything like this person. Okay? Gluttony, obviously you know what that is. When the environment is that aggressive, I wouldn't call eating as much as I can gluttony. I would call it surviving. But when someone is hoarding so much stuff, when someone is at a major deficit and they have to figure out how to release those demons and they're not balancing out their microbes and all that, people can call them gluttonous. No, but they're driven by a hormonal imbalance. Gluttony does not mean that you starve yourself, which is what some people advocate. Some people have major hormonal imbalances and they can't help, even though they're big, they can't help but keep eating. But the thing is, you have to keep eating and releasing those demons. But gluttony could also mean that people are glutton for punishment. They're always starting wars with other people. They're always resisting somebody else. They're always out there. They don't care if they get hurt or not. They're always doing something to harm themselves. It could be gluttony in the surgical system, a gluttony in the allopathic holistic system, gluttony in just collecting so many things. People who collect stuff just because they can, because they don't know what to do with their money. They have so much money, all they do is just collect shit. Collect friends, collect baubles, collect. Even when I had all those top ramens, I was gluttonous because I was afraid that we were all going to starve. Oh, I've exhibited those characteristics because of fear. And so when people collect friends because they're in fear of being alone, people collect items, they feel like they're in, that they have some kind of control, or where they're calling the home shopping networks and collecting things that they think is going to be rare and worth money. All right. Wrath is, wrath is anger. Wrath is acid. Wrath, you can Google wrath. It's what some people exhibit when they are highly triggered. I've even exhibited that on my Facebook Lives, even a few years ago, when I'm releasing the demon and getting triggered. And sloth. And what is sloth? See, when you think about sloth, I don't think that is a sin as much as it is a condition. When you're tired, you need to fucking sleep. But somebody else will be like, oh, you're lazy, that you're sleeping. You're slothful. No. And people are, like, all of these are about like certain conditions of people. But when it comes to sloth, people do need to rest. But other people that want people to produce will call someone who is not producing at the level that they're producing slothful. So that's a judgment. Everything on here is a judgment of sorts. But this is the 7 ways you can die. By sleeping your life away, yes. By being so wrathful and acidic and so resistant. Being so gluttonous on everything. Not even just food, but collecting friends and family. And collecting children. And collecting baubles. And collecting money. And collecting stuffed animals. Collecting pieces of art. Okay? Collecting everything. And then envy. Envy is everything, you can envy anything when you're desiring somebody else's lifestyle, belief system, and all that. Lust, sexual. That's OnlyFans. That is Instagram. That is the girl showing off showing their boobs and then showing the cross. Okay. And that's what's interesting about the 7 deadly sins of America is that, yes, we have that dichotomy of Hollywood. I'm remembering Selma Hayek in her first picture when she was an actress. She had a lot of cleavage and then she had a big, huge cross. And the same thing with Madonna when she was doing those videos of intermixing that sexuality and religion. And they are one and the same because religion wants so many children to carry on that religion. Okay, how else are you going to nation build for that religion if it wasn't for sex and lust? That's the confusion people are in right now. And that's another way to pass away is you keep reproducing children and each child, it becomes weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker. Okay. And each generation becomes weaker and weaker and weaker. All right. And so, and then pride, and all the pride out there. I don't care what it is, whether it's pride in an ethnicity, in a culture, or a sexual orientation, or even melanin or lack thereof. Any kind of pride is keeping you entrenched and making everything okay that you don't ever evolve. and also buying into the programming. And so America is giving people 7 ways to pass away, and also giving you absolution for every single one of them to make everything okay. Wow. And so I'm trying to put all that together. Okay. All right. So Zeus, the Greek system, that's part of the Hermetics. Zeus, the zoos, overseer of the human zoos. That is how the Greek system controls the human zoos. The Greek system, the college system, exploits the young and the inexperienced. This is why human trafficking is at an all-time high. This is where the alcoholics, addicts are born, and sugar babies thrive. Because you know, these girls that can't afford college and don't want to work so much part-time to pay for their college, well, if they have a sugar daddy who will keep them, and they exchange services. He pays for her college and her living expenses, and she gives him whatever he wants, whatever they agree to. And then you have the hazing system, the fraternities, the sororities, and drinking. You saw Animal House. You saw all of that. Animal House, Revenge of the Nerds. Come on, that was the programming. And then now you have these girls that are inexperienced, don't know what's going on. And so the Greek system, the college system, exploits the young and the inexperienced. This is why human trafficking is at an all-time high, because or serial killers that happen, or rapists that happen in these college campuses, because you were getting a stable of young girls who are inexperienced, coming from all different parts of the U.S., from little tiny towns to big cities to suburban neighborhoods. And they don't really know the ways of the world. They don't know how crafty predators are. And they get caught up. Some don't survive. They get veered off, or something happens. And it happens in the military too. Okay? And so traditional college will be a war zone for those who are unaware. Human animal captivity and enslavement. So Zeus is the overseer of the human zoo. Zeus, zoo. See, that right there was the discovery the last couple days. That was like, whoa, that makes sense, because all of those different gods and demigods, Perseus and all that stuff, that's all just the different compartmentalized hormones that each person, when they bear a child, represents. That child represents a specific hormone that was at the surface of that day. And so when kids are born in really aggressive situations, let's say the mother was a drug addict, that child's going to exhibit certain characteristics that exemplify that drug addict behavior. And other kids were born from relative peace and balance during that time of pregnancy and birth. Then that kid will come out relatively peaceful, relatively balanced. When a kid comes out during certain times and hormones that are at the surface again, okay, this is what's going to come out. The child is a representation of the mother's hormonal state of the time of the pregnancy as well as the time of birth. And so that's the human zoo. That's all of the Greek system, the Roman system, Greek mythology, Roman mythology, and even India has their own gods and demigods. And we have different overseers of the human zoo. You can take Buddha, Zeus, what's in the Jewish, Moses, potentially, yeah. Then we have in Christianity, Jesus Christ, that is the overseer of the human zoo, trying to keep people. And then you have the different offshoots, and you have Jehovah. Then you have Adam Smith or something on the Mormon side. Then you have all the new age cult leaders or religious leaders, or their pastors over there, like in these big, huge churches. And everyone's tithing to them. So these pastors are making millions and millions of dollars overseeing their flock, or a human zoo. Okay? Zeus. And so, yeah. And so when you have that many animals, like humans, with so much diversity, then there's going to be issues with evolution. Some animals, humans, are not going to be as adaptable to the changing conditions, which is why you see some animals go extinct in the world because of the changing environmental conditions, human encroachment. No different than some humans that can't handle the evolution, the changes in our society. So the grid is heating up and air quality is bad and you can smell the burning electrical grid. And so no, the system is not poisoning you. You just can't handle evolution or any kind of change. So those that are having issues with anything, I don't care what they blame it on, those are having health issues or using things to stop the pain or keep them under a certain influence, they're having an issue with evolution. Those who are aging out, those who are resisting what's going on, they're having an issue with evolution and adaptation. And every single pain they feel, they're going to blame it on something, whether it's a V, the particle spreader, particle acceleration, the smoke, everything, yeah. But you know what I dealt with the last couple of days? Maybe not energy yesterday. A little bit of arm pain because my lymph nodes were a little bit open because it had to go and open and release. And a little bit of hunger, not too much. And I blew my nose. That's pretty much what I'm dealing with now. Okay, and then yeah, it's crazy. My hair is going to turn white at some point. I cannot wait till my whole head turns white. I cannot wait. But I also have to learn how to take care of white, wiry hair and using conditioning and purple. I can't wait. I can't wait till I have the gray hair. I cannot wait. Because that means that I really broke through the programming and I'm still going to be relatively youthful, but I'm going to have white hair. Oh, I can't. That's evolution. When you're trying to color your hair or pull out the things that are growing, when you're trying to do that, you're resisting evolution. I am going with the evolution and I'm going to fluctuate. There is an original prototype that we all came with, but all the phenotypical characteristics were programmed into us. And then we kept dying and reproducing. And that's Vietnam, China, that's everywhere all over the world because no one, well, maybe, no, I don't think people have learned how to jump from one evolutionary existence to another. Everyone out there is going through a type of lifespan, 100-something years or less, and then die and drop a few kids. And then those kids have black hair or red hair or white hair or whatever, blonde hair. And then they have that, and then they age out, degrade and all that, and they drop a few kids. And that's why humans have been carrying on the existence, because they're dying and reproducing. But what would happen if you're able to handle a major change in the environment? And what would happen if you could keep all your organs intact and keep the collagen in your skin and keep everything supple and have your boobs, if you're a female, be real, finally able to stand on its own without it drooping so much and handle that kind of. And what would happen if you are youthful as if you're staying telemerically 30 or 40, but you have white ass hair and you have knowledge, wisdom, intelligence, intellect, and the ability to evolve. That's why I can't wait for all these things to happen. I can't wait to be my original prototype to show people that, yeah, we have been programmed, and the dying and reproducing always seems to keep people in a certain kind of ignorance, short memories. And so, yeah. So I felt the energy today or yesterday. And, yeah. So that kid that died, who's 22 years old, I said, what you do as a child and the kind of parents you have as a child will determine if you will survive young adulthood. When kids are 22 years old in college, dropping like flies, they were probably skinny as a kid. Okay, and they were able to grow up and withstand, and they were able to handle that's what she was saying. Let me read this. Let me read what she said. Yeah, I'm gonna fucking block that girl. Hold on a second. Block. Confirm. Oh, Lordy. People try to dispute you. They don't even know who the hell you are, but they just want to dispute you because they're all about converting people. Get off of my page if you don't like me. All All right. All right. So she said, we unexpectedly lost our 22-year-old son in his sleep. I'm telling you, if you don't reinforce your body by day, you will die by night. We unexpectedly lost our 22-year-old son in his sleep while he was home during college break from out of state. I am the one who found him. When I went to get him for dinner, official cause, ruptured aorta. If you have ever been through this, there are simply no words for this, as you know. Husband started CPR immediately until ambulance took over, to no avail. He was just gone. He was always on the fence about the you-know-what, and they're saying VACCINES, but no proof he ever got it. No card in wallet. Roommate did not get it, nor remember him ever saying he did. They all got the virus at the same time, but when it was at its peak, but none hospitalized. Their college did not mandate the you-know-what. Since he worked summers here, I contacted his state county health department, the only state that keeps exact records of these supposedly, was told no definitive record, but that also places like places like CVS, Walgreens were supposed to report every you-know-what, but did not always do so. Knowing for sure would not bring him back, but small closure, I guess. So sad. He was fit, active, healthy, and now gone. And so what you do as a child and the kind of parent you have as a child, will determine if you will survive young adulthood. This child was made for a less aggressive environment, but people are not prepared to evolve or ever taught how to evolve. More of this is going to happen. Prepare yourself. So what is a ruptured aorta? What is a ruptured aorta? It's an aortic aneurysm. Oh, Lordy. Traumatic aortic transection, also known as aortic rupture, is the near complete tear through all the layers of the aorta due to trauma such as the sustained in motor vehicle collision or a fall. The condition is most often lethal and require immediate medical attention. Okay. A ruptured aneurysm can cause massive internal bleeding, shock, and death. As such, a ruptured aneurysm is always considered a medical emergency. In fact, only about 1 in 5 patients survive a ruptured aorta. And so, aortic rupture is commonly fatal as blood in the aorta is under very high pressure and can quickly escape the vessel through a tear, resulting in rapid hemorrhage, shock, exsanguination, and death. And so again, when you don't have much insulation and you have a high pressure and the walls of your aorta, the walls of your blood vessels are thin because of deficiencies. That's what these kids are facing when they're not getting all the different nutrients, the fats. Not only just protein, because you need more than just protein. You need the fats, the milk, the cream. And you need to release those demons that are causing the weaknesses, because when you have so much of a war in your body, that's taking up resources. And when you have a war in your body taking your resources, it's going to then weaken your vital organs. And so you'll get all these different exposures and feel the growth in your body. And if there's not a good release process, and of course, if the people are feeling stuff, I'm sure she didn't go into what he was taking during that time. But I can almost bet you people were taking all the different things over the counter to stop the body from releasing. So he had all this growth in his body. Probably it was deficient. Healthy and active. I couldn't even tell you even the body type he had. But again, in an environment such as this, you really have to release not only those demons, but reinforce the body and go through all the different pains. And every single time you take a pill, a powder, something, a detox, an over-the-counter remedy, it's just another nail in the coffin. Another nail in the coffin. Until one day when the frequency shifts to that extent, and that's what happened. Let's go back to that. They all got the virus at the same time when it was at its peak. When was it at its peak? Was that in 2021? 2022? See, that's what these people, so even though you don't get majorly sick one day and you can get over it, doesn't mean that when the environment shifts again that you're going to survive that energy frequency shift. That's why people don't understand how to plan out, because they don't know to look at the indicators of today, what's going to happen tomorrow. They're like, oh yeah, I survived the sickness today, everything's great, and then they keep doing what they do, and they're traditional, they don't make any changes, they're not evolutionary, and they keep doing the same thing over and over again, and then one day, the environment shifts to such an extent that they die in their sleep. They didn't do anything by day to reinforce everything, and they don't understand that because their parents don't understand that. They were never taught this. No one will ever teach them this because that's the system. System was one way, and then you have to find the information and figure out how to transition. And so one day, the environment shifted to such an extent, he couldn't handle it, and he died in his sleep. People get heart attacks in their sleep, but they wake up and they're like, oh, I got to go to the hospital. They go to the hospital, then they get another operation. They get stents and screws and nips and tucks and mesh and all this other shit. So they get all these implants, or they have all these operations cause more trauma. And they haven't even conditioned themselves for the environment, and they stay away from meat, milk, cheese, eggs, and fruits and vegetables, and sugar and salts and all that. So salt's off the table, sugar's off the table, bread's off the table, anything. And they have diabetes, and they have all these. And then one day the environment's going to shift to that extent that they won't survive another evolutionary leap. They'll get a heart attack and they won't survive it. And people become that skinny from it too. That's why it's dangerous in this environment to have diabetes. It's dangerous to have heart conditions in this environment. It's dangerous to be very skinny and be dealing with predisposed issues. It's just dangerous all around to be that weak, that immunocompromised in this environment. It is so dangerous. And then raising kids with eating disorders. They can't eat this. They have food allergies. They have this, and this. They're great one day and they're gone the next. And parents don't know any better. They don't. They were never taught to evolve and change and figure out how to implement change slowly. Because their friends and the family keep them reinforced into keeping to do the same thing over and over again in a different environment. That was the conditioning of people not surviving. Those are the 7 deadly sins in America that have caused people to give them 7 ways to pass away. 7 ways to pass away. Okay, now I'm going back up here. All right. And so more of this is going to happen. Just prepare yourself. And so I say, when I was watching that Suits with, Mike Ross, my favorite character who I identify with the most. And then, is when you try to do good in this world and you get screwed at every turn. Moral of the story, mind your own business, follow the law, take care of yourself and your dependents. Stop trying to save people. So Mike Ross in Suits on Netflix, he reminds me of me wanting to save everyone, wanting to do good at the detriment of himself, at the detriment of his word and contracts he signed that he wouldn't get involved with something because it was a conflict of interest. He wanted to save the world. And he was such a do-gooder, and he was, and he's conflicted. Make money for corporations or save the freaking little man who is being victimized. And I'm saying at this point, if you're compromising, you got to choose. But even then, saving the little man by trying to stick it to the big man will then make enemies out from the big man. So then you have to mind your own business. Don't save anyone. And so Suits reminds me of what it's like to be in conflict. And how no matter which way you go, you're going to be screwed when you're trying to make so much money and screw people for the corporations and try to save the little man who is so dependent on someone saving them, and then you're giving your body, mind, and spirit to someone who doesn't have what it takes to survive, and they're dependent upon you to save them all the time. And then you see that the characters in Suits are all like blaming each other for not being there for each other. You weren't there for me. I fucked up on the stand, and I just caused us to throw the case and all this other stuff. And I'm like, Jesus, there are so many victims in this freaking show. That's what I'm saying. When you figure out victim and predator are both basically two sides of the same coin, and they depend on each other. And the system develops victims and predators, and they exchange titles all the time. Then you can watch things like Suits and not get caught up in that victim mentality or that predator mentality. You watch how the programming is, and you pull out the jewels. You pull out the actual facts and the statutes and things that are written in the laws, and you understand it. That's why I post occasional things like, what did I post? Which I don't put in here in these videos because I'm not trying to teach you guys law. I'm just showing you what I pull out from these shows. In business, when a company is threatened with takeover, the crown jewel defense is a strategy in which the target company sells off its most attractive assets to a friendly third party or spins off the valuable assets in a separate entity. Consequently, the unfriendly bidder is less attracted to the company's assets. Okay? That's what I not only do I understand the emotional dynamics of Suits, and I can pull out the programming, the victim predator programming, okay, and all the sex that's in that show and all that programming, but I also can pull out the facts and understand the law from an entertainment perspective. That's discernment. That's not saying, oh, I can't watch Suits because it's going to program me and it's so garbage and it's mind control. And you see all those that are in the conspiracy world like, oh, don't watch TV, don't watch this, don't watch that. Just sit with your homogenized friends feeding you fear around the chemtrails and everything else, right? No, I watch shows to pull out the jewels and understand the programming that is insidious to those who are not aware, who are not actively watching these for education. They're watching it for entertainment and to be programmed. And those are children who don't have discernment, and parents don't monitor what their kids watch. And even parents who don't know any better, they're watching stuff like, oh yeah, it's so awesome, Harvey's so, I mean, yeah, believe me, I think Harvey's so fucking hot. All of them are really great in their characters. But I also see through even that. Oh yeah, the beauty is what tractor beams you in, and what attracts you. And then if you're not discerning, you will fall into that victim predator programming and be like, yeah, you should have saved them. Yeah, oh, he's bad, or he's good, or he's this. So anyways, I wanted to show you how I watch TV, movies, and even binge watch shows. Believe me, it's all for education. It's not for all education. I'm expanding my mind and pointing out the programming. And understanding it. Okay. And that takes a while to learn. Because people are emotional. Okay, so you see they're actually programming the population. So this is this African influencer, okay? And let me go to now that. Okay, let me read this first, then I'll go to that. So you see they are actively programming the African population. It's like, and that's in Africa, right? It's like watching time go backwards. Casting spells of a lifespan which was done to you, now you get to see where the origination in Africa. It just takes one person who was influential to plant a seed, a spell. And this guy has a lot of followers. People who are dying to evolve, people who are dying to evolve literally. Okay, so they're all wanting that information. They are so hungry for information. They want to be like the West. Okay? That's why you're seeing Africans and third world nations come up and try to integrate with the first world. And there's a little bit of conflict, okay? And so I see them also quoting Aldous Huxley. I don't even know how to pronounce his name. Aldous Huxley. And what was that quote, if I can remember? That quote was something about, how can you believe something without proof? What is it? Some kind of man is stupid for, not stupid, but something that, how can you believe something without proof? And I'm like, oh, that's a fucking programming, because what is proof? Okay? And so when someone said, and so you see people in that post was like, yeah, right? And I'm like, oh God, here is the mainstream and alternative mainstream coming up over there in Africa. They'd be like, when someone says indefinite life, they'll be like, When someone says indefinite life in Africa, they'll be like, show me the proof. Show me the proof. Who's living forever? And that's what you're going to see in Africa. Someone's going to say something like this, and they're going to see the proof, and that proof can be spun relative to intention. So when you already put to the Africans what he says, that I'm going to go back to that post, because this is how even you've been programmed. He said, death and death alerts. 100, this is a guy named A.H. Gulani. Death and death alerts. 150 years from now, none of us reading this post today will be alive. He's casting a spell. Just like your friends out there saying, a life is short, play hard, here's my bucket list. So he's casting spells onto the African population. 70% to 100% of everything we are fighting over right now will be totally forgotten. Underline the word totally and ponder. Oh, he's very good. He's very influential. If we go back memory lane to 150 years before us, that will be 1872. None of those that carried the world on their heads that are alive today. Almost all of us reading this will find it difficult to picture exactly anyone's face of that era. Oh, he was trained well. Pause for a while and imagine how some of them betrayed their relatives and sold them as slaves for a piece of mirror. Some killed family members just for a piece of land, or tubers, or yam, or cowries, or for a pinch of salt, or both. Where is the yam, cowries, mirror, or salt that they were using to brag then? It may sound funny to us now, but that is how silly we humans are sometimes, especially when it comes to money, power, and attempt to stay relevant. You can remember pretty those days in my secondary school, for example, how some people fought and did so many unimaginable things just to have their names shortlisted among those to be made school prefects, ordinary school prefects for that matter. But today, nobody is that school right now remembers that you even schooled there despite your popularity then. Now imagine what happened after 150 years. Even when you claim the internet age will preserve your memory, using the popular Michael Jackson as an example, Michael Jackson died 2009, just 14 years ago. Imagine the influence Michael Jackson had all over the world when he was alive. How many young people of today could remember him with awe, that is if that even know him? In 150 years to come, his name, when mentioned, will not ring any bell to a lot of people at all. See, he's casting spells, guys. Just so you see, this is what your friends do to you. This is how it starts. Just so you know, this is how it starts. Somebody speaks that, and then people believe it, and they will act upon it. Let us take life easy. Nobody will get out of this world alive. Again, more spells. The land you are fighting for, ready to kill for, somebody left that land, that person is dead, rotten, and forgotten. The same applies to money, power, and others. That will also be your fate, per se. In 150 years to come, none of the vehicles or phones we're using today will be relevant anymore. Please take life easy. Let love, here we go. This is the 1960s, now translated into the African population in Africa. Let love lead among us. Let's be genuinely happy for each other. No malice, no backbiting, no jealousy, no comparison. Here's the 7 deadly sins now, translated into the African population. Life is not a competition either. Oh, yes, it is. But again, he's been trained in this. At the end of the day, after all, we will all be transit to the other side life. Okay, here's the Hermetics, as above, so below. It is just a question of who gets there first, but surely we will all get there someday. Okay, and I'm following him because he has some things awesome that I agree with, and I also see the programming. I don't know who taught him, I don't know who got to him, and I know that he is promoting so many books like in the sales world. I'm going to really actually explore his page here. Oops, hold on. Because I want you to understand. He has 90,000 people following him. A lot of them are from Africa. All of them, actually. He works at the IRS Forensic Investigation, studied at Institute of Peace and Security Studies, studied at DISI, Defense and International Security Institute, studied International Institute of Certified forensic investigation professionals. He lives in Lagos, Nigeria, from Damaturu. He's married. And so, yeah, let's see. And so Nigerians talk about to take all Guinness World Records. Okay, here's that. Your Money or Your Life. He's now recommending books. Your Money or Your Life by Joe Dominguez is a highly influential book that offers valuable insight and lessons about personal finance and achieving financial independence. Here are some key lessons and learn from the book. Rethink your relationship with money. The book encourages readers to examine their beliefs and attitudes about money. Okay, and so he talks about money. Another book is called .com Secrets, Marketing and Digital Skills. Okay, so, he's getting up there. Then he has some recommendations on how to be in our society on the internet. Study has shown that men who not hardly post their wives, girlfriends on their social media timeline status are more caring and pay more attention to the needs of their partners than men who always posting their partners' photos on social media. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Find focus, fight distraction. Here we go. And so 8 lessons from a book, attention span, groundbreaking way to restore balance, happiness, and productivity. Okay, sounds like a new Tony Robbins, the Tony Robbins of Africa. Okay, there's all these different books, cover letters, job interviews, of social networking. Okay. Okay, so now you kind of see that he's teaching his fellow man how to now compete with the first world. All right? And there's also going to be a death programming also instilled. All right, so then what did I say? I said in response to that. So you see he is actively programming the population. It's like watching time go backwards. Casting spells of a lifespan, which was done to you. Now you get to see where it originates in Africa. It just takes one person who is influential to plant a seed, a spell. He has a lot of followers, people who are dying to evolve, literally. I see them also quoting Aldous Huxley. The researchers found that when hair starts to grow, okay, and so then I'm going into the hair thing. And so then as far as the 150 years, right, is additionally they might live longer, right, over 150 years. So the Africans might live longer. So he's quoting 150 years. He's saying that Africans most likely over there will live to be 150 years. And so additionally, they might live longer. Africans. Why longer than Americans? Because they're more robust. They're fucking stronger. Africans are stronger. They can handle the high heat. But what's going to take them down is the constant reproduction and bringing in Western medicine. That's going to keep chipping away at the genetic lines from all the reproduction and the religion of big families, work just the way America, but after World War I, after World War II, then you had the 1950s of the baby boom, and then all the different innovation and the herbs and the extracts and the detoxes and the operations causing trauma, causing more eggs to drop, fertility. That's why we have such a population boom. Now it's going to be a decline. Africa is now on the upcline, on the upward trend. We are on the downward trend. All right. And so additionally, the Africans might live longer in Africa, over 150 years, give or take, because Black people are extremely strong, very durable, and they can handle high heat out there in Africa. But it will also get hotter. Look at the climate change projection models. Not only will it get hotter, but then, of course, again, all the reproducing and Western medicine coming in. All right? But the weather will change in the future, getting hotter. As the population increases, it will get hotter, and genetic lines will get weaker from procreation until only the strong survives all over the world. All right, remember the science magazines projecting humans will have longer than 150 years or so. It's not just the J world. All right, once Africa becomes online, they will beat the first world as far as longevity. But remember, we have the J world. All right, and so all right. And so I can't wait till my hair turns silver and all that. And there's ways to take care of your hair. And so you are the gods. That's the thing I'm trying to tell you guys, is you are the gods. So now I could finally put that speculation around Greek mythology to rest. We're just a clone of the past. With all this diversity, genetics mixed with genetics, or people procreating with each other and all that, and so we have a diversity in the genetics in your background. If you did a DNA test, if you did like a 23andMe, and you can see where all your ancestors came from. And so all we are is just clones of the past. What happened 6,000 years ago, and the people are really no different, except that you have more information. Some of you are resisting and you want to be back in 6,000 years ago, tending cattle, enslaving humans, enslaving animals, and butchering them, and commodifying them on the open market, and selling them all the different remedies and surgeries and things like that. What's going on today is no different than what happened 6,000 years ago, and all points in between. And then all the wars for resources, and then all the leverage. How you get leverage over somebody that's weaker or stronger. How do people trade victim perpetrator or victim predator all the time? That's why I had to really study the victim predator relationship, because they do need each other, and they always switch the category. They switch that status around. Even the victims become predators, and the predators become victims. And then politics, religion, and science makes predators and victims out of everybody. Activism makes predators and victims out of everybody, and they get caught in that loop and they can't get out. And they're always exchanging that title. One day they're a predator, one day they're a victim. One day they're a predator, one day they're a victim. They're either going out there and saving somebody and become a predator and save them to death, or they're a victim. Oh my God, you're trying to save me, and they're trying to stay. So then I walk out of the war. I don't want anyone saving me, and I'm not trying to predate and be predatory against anyone. I just share information, and I keep it on my Facebook, and I don't go on anyone's page and try to convert them or disagree with them or cross any boundaries or belittle them. I just stay on my page and show you what the world is, and you can choose however you want to lead your life. I ain't trying to convert you. I don't care what the fuck you do, because the environment will punish you, and the people will hold you accountable if you cross lines and break laws. That's the new world, probably 100 years from now, because we got to get Africa online. We got to get Indonesia online. We got to get so many of these countries who are way back in the dark ages, who are part of that really aggressive, basic Darwinian kill or be killed lifestyle. And so the environment will then be the one to determine who lives and who dies. And if you're not up to speed, and I'm sorry if you don't have access to the internet or access to information and you're just surviving, but this is going to be interesting. This is really going to be interesting. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to not make it so long, but I got things to write. So yeah, good luck, everybody. Bye.